Hola!
Hola!
Bienvenidos a Lightspeed Spanish.
Bienvenidos.
So, we continue now with our beginners videocasts talking about conjugating Spanish verbs in the present tense.
Eso es.
Correcto.
By the way, when I say eso es, good people say
Help.
SOS. And it's eso, E-S-O-S.
It doesn't mean
E-S.
help me, I'm being abused by my husband or anything like that.
SOS.
Ok, bueno, pues hablamos de todo en la segunda parte. Okay, Cynthia, so last time we just mentioned briefly there are three kinds of verbs endings,
Yes,
yeah?
so the end in ar, in er, and ir. All the verbs have to fit in one of those categories.
Okay, so what we're going to do is look at each verb type and then work out how we conjugate it, okay? Now remember that we covered the personal pronouns in the last time, so I hope you've got them nice and clear in your head. First of all, what you have to do with any verb, an AR verb, classical AR verb would be what?
Hablar.
Hablar, okay? To talk or to speak. What you have to do first of all is you have to take off the AR and create what's called the verb stem, which is hablo, okay?
Eso es.
That's the first thing. Then all the rest gets added on there, okay? So then we come to, you've got hablo, and you want to say I speak. So what you do is this is the trick that I learned a long time ago to help me. Draw an O on your chest, yeah? Because when you talk about yourself, yo, you put an O.
In present.
In present tense. So this becomes yo hablo. So it's hablo with an O, hablo. And that means I speak. So yo hablo español.
Muy bien.
Yo soy español. Okay, so O for you. Then we've got tú.
O for I. Not for you.
Yeah, sorry. For me. Now we're going to get confused.
Don't get confused.
To me or
with
to you, yeah. Okay, so then we've got you. Tú.
Tú.
Okay, now the way you remember it is you, tú, informal, you were one of my friends. So because you're one of my friends, I'm going to put an S on the end, okay? So what happens once we get past the O into the tú, then you move back to habla, okay? That's your root, habla, and then you're going to put an S on the end. So hablas, tú hablas. ¿Tú hablas inglés?
Sí, yo hablo inglés.
Ah, see what happened? I used hablas, do you, and Cynthia had to change it to I speak, hablo, yeah? Okay, so you're one of my friends, so I'm going to put an S on because you're one of my friends. But then we've got he, she, él, ella, okay? And
Or usted.
Oh, usted,
The formal,
exactly.
formal you.
All in the same family. They're not your friends, right? So they're not your friends, so you've got to take the S back off. So you go to habla, yeah? Habla. So él habla. O he. ¿Tu padre habla inglés?
Mi padre habla inglés más o menos.
Un poco. See? So you've taken the S off. He or she or you formal, not friends, okay? Then we've got we, which is the nosotros, nosotras. And how you remember that is we are covered in mos. We've got mos all over us. So we're going to take habla and we're going to put mos on the end. So that's
Hablamos.
hablamos. Okay. Cuidado, be careful. It's not hablamos. Okay? Because we've just done habla. It's not hablamos. It's hablamos. Okay, that's where your emphasis goes. So we are covered in mos, hablamos. You all are covered in is. Yes. So let me tell you a little story.
What letter is missing?
What letter is missing?
From is.
So I taught somebody who was I can't remember what he did now, but manual work. And I said, you all are covered in is. And I said, but if you want to add a letter, you can to make it more memorable. So naturally he added a P, yeah? Except he didn't take the P back off again. So he would say, hablapis. Okay?
Hablapis.
Okay, and he put the P on. And I was saying the P was just there to help you remember. Don't put the P in. Yeah. So what you get is...
Without peas.
So, you all, vosotros, habláis. And notice that it has a tilde on it. Okay, it has an accent on the A. Habláis.
Habláis.
A tip, if you're struggling when you look at that word, lots of people struggle with the pronunciation. They don't know how to do that last bit because lots of vowels together. The word that you're going to use to remember is the word ice. Okay, I-C-E in English, because that's the sound on the end. Habláis. So you've got ice
Or
on the
you
end.
can learn to break down words in Spanish because we pronounce everything.
Sure.
So if there's the vowel A and the vowel I, then we do have to pronounce both. It's in English when you put vowels together and it makes one sound.
Exactly.
But in Spanish, we don't make one sound, or in French. But in Spanish, we make a sound per letter.
Yeah.
So it would be habláis. So everything is pronounced.
Yeah. Perfect. So you've got that. And then you've got they. Now, they are at the end of the conjugation. So because they're at the end, we put an N on. Okay, so you've got habla with an N, hablan.
Muy bien.
Ellos hablan, ellas hablan. Okay, they speak. Tus padres hablan francés.
Mis padres no hablan francés.
Tu padre sí, ¿eh?
Mi padre habla muy poco francés. Un poco.
Sí.
Pomme de terre.
I've heard him. There's like 3 or 4 words that he always says, and I learned these words. Okay, so that's your conjugation. So we'll just have a quick run through. So, hablo, hablas, habla.
Hablamos, habláis, hablan.
Okay, cool. Right, so now let's move on to an ER verb. And we'll be much faster now that you know the
Same system. So it's the same system as we did with ar, with an er.
Which verb should we use?
Beber.
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 Okay, to drink. Yeah. So it goes like this.
Bebo. Bebes. Bebe. Bebemos. Bebéis. Beben.
Okay.
One thing with the third person, which is bebe, bebe, is not bebé. Bebé would have an accent on the second E,
Which
and that
is
means
baby.
Bebé. Okay, this one is bebe. Bebe, not bebé.
Okay. So notice that because this is an ER verb, beber, then the root of the verb is bebe. Okay? So we don't put beba, it's bebe, right? So the ER verb, you must maintain the E in there, except for the first one, which is just the O. Yeah? So then we've got an IR verb. Give us an IR verb.
Abrir.
Okay, it's not irregular, is it? It's fine, yeah. Loads of IR verbs are irregular, by the way.
But ir verbs, you can explain what happens to them.
Yeah. So what happens is this. An IR verb pretends to be an ER verb, except when it's outside of the boot, right? Now, I'll put a little image for you. Spanish verbs are boot verbs. What that means is they can be very irregular inside of the boot. But when they're outside of the boot, the conjugation, which is always nosotros and vosotros, they are always regular, or like 99% of the time, yeah? So even though it's pretending, an IR verb is pretending to be ER, when it comes outside of the boot in the nosotros and vosotros, it isn't. It goes back to form, yeah? So what we've got with abrir is...
Yo abro, tú abres, él abre, nosotros abrimos, vosotros abrís, ellos abren.
So notice, the I comes back in the nosotros and the vosotros form. And also notice with the IR verbs, there's no E or an A after the I. It's just abrís, nothing more. Yeah? Okay.
And that's how you conjugate all of the regular verbs in Spanish.
Yeah, that's the irregular verbs. The ER verbs tend to be, most of them are regular. There are some, as you go through the ER and then into the IO, you'll find some irregular ones. But what the great thing about the irregular verbs is that there are still patterns within them. Okay? But you'll start learning that as you go along. Secret, start practicing the verb conjugations. You can go online and just do a verb conjugation practice. There are tons of pages that'll help you. The quicker you practice it and get it into your mind, the faster you'll learn. Yeah?
True.
So just remember your little tips of like, you're one of my friends, so I'll put an S on. We're covered in moss, we'll put it in, yeah, just remember that and that'll help you, yeah.
Muy bien.
Bueno, entonces, muchas gracias por haber estado con nosotros. Ahora nos vamos.
Y nos vemos.
Hasta luego, adiós.
Adiós.